I ask people, in the beginning I used to ask them about pain. I tell them, if you feel any pain, please let me know, because this is for me something important. The idea why I want to know about the pain, because if they're in pain, then the survival mechanism will plug in. So I want to keep it unplugged. And lately I found that here in Canada, or maybe in the Western culture, it's not about, the word pain is not sufficient, because many people are so used to their pain, so they will not consider it as a pain. So I started to say, if you feel even a slight discomfort, please let me know. And some start, because then it goes beyond their suppression level, the automatic suppression level of pain, and they start to investigate, what does it mean, slight discomfort? And then they start telling me what's going on. So that's a term that I found that helps me shift that block, because I remember I used to have a lot of knee pain, and when I was 19, 20, that's how I started with the search of a method that will help me, and I came across the Feldenkrais Method. And I remember that in order to live and to perform in a daily way, and no one wants to be restricted. I mean, we are animals that want to move, to do things. So yes, there is a pain, so I just covered the pain with not feeling the pain, and I kept moving. So I'm assuming that many people are doing the same thing. So how would I know how to help the person if he even doesn't observe the pain? He says there is pain here. But many times when you start to work, you start with one pain, but you end up dealing with other issues, or they start to remember, yeah, 20 years ago I had an accident. And even though I have a very thorough questionnaire, but they forget things about themselves. Probably like I do forget about myself. So asking about the discomfort even, and the exploration. So those are the words that I found for the same thing.
I find that when people are in pain, if I can explain to them what pain is about, immediately their pain decreases by 50%. And I tell them that our nervous system is a binary system, it's like a computer. We operate on 0 and 1. And so the only thing that our nervous system or brain has to indicate whether something's okay or not in terms of comfort, discomfort, is either it's all transparent and we don't really feel ourselves aside from, a really nice touch. But when I'm moving my arms like I am right now, or I'm walking around, there's very little sensation. I'm really transparent to myself. And the nervous system uses pain as its only way, or discomfort, because it's a continuum. So you start out with pleasure and then you move into pain. And as it goes into that discomfort area, if we pay attention right away and do something, like if I'm sitting like this and after I've been like this for 5 minutes and the top of my back hurts and this hurts, my brain is telling me to shift. I need to do something to change that. And a lot of people that are in pain, they do not feel their bodies. They do not pay, it's what you were saying, they don't pay attention. They've masked that. They ignore it. So what's the nervous system to do? It's going to increase the pain until you pay attention and do something about it. And as they begin to understand that, already the amount of pain they feel and the way they feel it changes.
that's why.
But I would do, when Ron was talking and what you were saying, how about the scenario that if they'd be masking pain, that maybe more pain will come up initially?
And that,
no?
absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's why I was talking about if they stop masking, then suddenly they will feel things that are considered minor and didn't exist before. But suddenly, sometimes you go and you work with someone and they say, my back pain that I came up with is gone. But suddenly my shoulder.
My hip is gone, my neck is
So I was saying that a while ago. I was teaching a workshop and I had said that the nervous system learns through pleasure and pain. You know, it can learn from both. You know, and so then thank you for that. Remember that, Marylyn? And you said, I don't agree with that, which is okay. And I said, well, at some level it does, because for me, it's like my angels. It's like what Sandra's saying. I mean, it has taught me to pay attention in a different way. And I didn't have that always. I mean, once I got deeper into the Feldenkrais, well, then there's a different type of awareness. So I'm not dissociating from it. It's more of a message. So then how do I teach that or let people know that that's a possibility too? You know, that we can learn from this pain that's coming up.
I get where I was coming from is mostly thing of our development that children learn through pleasure. Our movement is learned through pleasure. The child moves to pleasure generally, so that's where I was coming from in movement.
And that's something that we have to educate people to. So they have to understand what pain is, and they have to understand that if there's going to be really true learning, you don't take a person into pain. You know, this whole thing in our culture, no pain, no gain, is totally bogus. It's not true. And so they have to understand that if they want to learn something organically, if it goes into their nervous system, it has to feel good and be functional. And that's, yes, yeah.
I just want to, two different things to address, two comments, one of Sandra's and one of Ron's. So Sandra, you said something about people aren't aware, or we have to help them be aware that they're in pain, or they're not aware of their pain. I think a lot of people just aren't aware of their bodies. Generally, whether they're in pain or not, there's a lot of people not in pain who, when you ask them, well, what are you sensing? I have one lady who's not in pain. She gets up from, I don't feel anything, I don't feel anything, I don't feel anything. But you look at her, she's very different, right? So they're just not aware of what's. So I think that our job is really not only to help people understand their discomfort or pain, but to understand how they even without pain can do things differently.
I think for myself, as a nurse, you view pain, but you view pain in a different way. And I want to tell the story about when I fractured my wrist. I was seeing Sandra initially for back pain, and I had vertigo at one point from a flu shot. But when I fractured my wrist, I think the most profound thing that I heard from Sandra, I had been to the physiotherapist, and when the cast had come off, what had happened, I had this syndrome where the nerve is, if it's pinched, then your hand just doesn't know what to do. So my hand was just all purple, and what the specialist said is if you don't move your hand, you're going to lose it. And so then I went to physio, and of course pushing till I cry, and so I thought I have to drive to Kelowna to see Sandra, because maybe she can help me, because I didn't think I could, at the time I couldn't drive because I was having difficulty changing the shift because it was on my right hand, so I'd have to go across with my left hand. But to this day, I'm so thankful that I found Sandra, because it again made me learn that I can shift up my left hand, and I can still look at the road, and I can. But anyway, I went for, I think it was the first treatment, and I was telling Sandra about how it was so painful to go to physio, and the exercises were so painful, and they were really excruciating pain. And I think when you have nerve damage, the pain of the nerve is and I'm a bit of a, don't like pain. Anyways, the first thing Sandra said to me when I told her about the pain, she said, if your brain was in your wrist, what would it tell you? And I said, don't do that. And she said, well, don't do that then. And so I thought, ever since then, I have used that example for some of the people that I see, because sometimes they think that, like you had said, the pain is just a little bit, and the story was that I stopped doing and what Sandra did is she fine-tuned the little exercises I was doing with my hand into this wonderful thing where I supported my hand on the side of a table or whatever, and I just minimally moved my hand and did all kinds of, and by the end of the week my wrist was going backwards almost to full. And I went to the physiotherapist, and she said, you must have been doing your exercises a lot. And I said, not the ones you showed me. But anyway, it was a really, for me, it was just totally profound. And I thank you for that, because it made me aware that, for instance, on top of that the pain I had in my back and my neck, everything everywhere else, that I needed to become more aware of how I was moving and what are the things that I was doing to make that, make that worse or whatever. Yeah, so thank you, Sandra.
You're welcome. I love that, thank you. If your brain was in your wrist, what would it? That is, see that? Yeah, see now that for me, that connects it.
That's a sentence worth stealing.
Yeah, that
I don't even remember saying it, so you're all welcome to it.